What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pub Sports Radio and welcome to the DFS Picks and Prediction Show. Be sure to tune in every Wednesday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, where me, Weezy, Monk, and Gordo break down the upcoming card from a DFS perspective and give our predictions on all the fights as well. As always, we're going to be going through the fight target, fight to fade, fighter to fade, favorite dog, price picks, GPP play, cash play, value play, dart throw. We'll go over our lineups for last week, go over lineups for this week. We'll answer any questions, then we will head out of here. So we are here with Weezy, Monk, and Gordo. We'll start with you, Weezy. What is up? You looking forward to UFC 279?
Yeah, man, it's going to be a fun card. There's some meme fights on this card. There's some really good fights on this card, some guaranteed bangers. And from a Draftkings perspective, there's some, big-time salaries. There's a lot of fights in the mid-range, too. So balancing those stars and scrubs lineups with the mid-range lineups is going to make this one real interesting. Looking forward to chopping it up with you guys.
For sure. We got Gordo as well. Gordo, what is up? You are back from last week. You were not here, I don't believe, right?
No, I had a nice little 2-week vacation when I went away. Move up everything, and things have been tough. But I'm happy to settle down. I'm ready to go for this card. I didn't want to come on last week with a half-ass research card, so I'm back. All the work's done. I'm ready to go. And like you mentioned, what an incredible card to come back to. And it's a really weird one because you have those high-end salaries. You have that just clear-cut level of just, minus 1,200 favorites. And it's going to be really weird to see how people target these fights and how the slate is played as a whole. And I'm excited to break it down with you guys.
For sure. Welcome back. Monk, how about you? You looking forward to the card this week?
Absolutely. What is up, fellas? We got the gang back together just for you guys. Break down some fights for you here on Pub Sports Radio. Hit that like and subscribe. But yeah, I am absolutely looking forward to a bunch of these fights. I mean, the co-main event looks fantastic. Maybe the fight of the night in Dawodu and Erosa. I mean, we've got some bangers, some interesting possible leverage spots as well. So stay tuned and let's we'll break it down in a nice little way for you.
Sounds good. All right, we should get right into it. Like Monk said, if you guys have not already, be sure to like the video, subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio so not miss out on all the other content the guys put out through the week. All right, as always, we're going to start with the fight to target. I will kick this one off. I'm going to go with Ion Cuțelaba going against Johnny Walker. Right now, it is minus 325 for the fight. Doesn't go to decision. I feel like both fighters are very live for a finish here. We have Ion Cuțelaba 8,600. Johnny Walker 7,600. They're right in kind of that mid-range. It's really hard to see either fighter not find his way on the optimal lineup. With Ion Cuțelaba, you have that takedown upside as well. And I think Johnny Walker is getting a little bit counted out this week as well. He's going to have a big height advantage, a big reach advantage as well. And of course, he has a ton of power. We have seen Ion Cuțelaba knock out a few times in the UFC, but I think somebody's getting finished here probably within a round and a half as well. So I think the winner score is very good, and I'll be having a ton of this fight. Weezy, what is your favorite fight to target for this week?
I'm going to give you Darian Weeks versus Johan Lioness, the curtain jerker, at 8,200 for Weeks and 8,000 for Lioness. So you got Lioness, who's averaging 5.04 DraftKings points per minute, and Weeks, who's averaging 3.5. So these guys, the way I see the stylistic matchup here is Johan's very front-loaded. He throws 100% power into all of his strikes, so he's very dangerous early in fights. But Weeks has never been finished as a pro and as an amateur. He did lose one fight inside the distance. It was a doctor's stoppage. Didn't see it. Don't know what happened. But he's going to be durable here. And I feel like this fight is going to be a banger. I think it's going to be chaos from word one. I think that the way that this fight gets extended is if Weeks is able to wrestle successfully, but Johan can wrestle as well. And I think we've got two guys that are just going to go at it here. So mid-range guys, I think finding some mid-range players that you like this week are going to help you go up and get guys like Khamzat, like Fat Collier, like Dumont, who are, guys that you're going to try to want to get into your lineup. So I think being in that mid-range and finding some mid-range fighters with upside this week is going to be very important. And I think if you target Weeks and Lioness, that those are some great places to start.
Yeah, I like that fight a lot as well. I'm going to have a ton of it. Gordo, how about you? What is your favorite fight to target?
Yeah, for me, it's Ion Cuțelaba versus Johnny Walker. We've talked about that one already. Let's skip down a page. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, those two big salaries. The first one, I'm going to call my fight to target the Gelton Almeida fight versus the Pleasureman in Turkali. It's a fight that is going to be a really interesting one because you have such a big favorite facing a guy on short notice, but we haven't really seen Almeida drag into those deep waters. We haven't seen what happens after round 1.5. So this is a fight that not only do we have a minus 800 favorite, but it's minus 450 fight not to go to the decision. I think there's a finish one way or the other. Of course, I'm going to be front loaded heavy on that Jilton Almeida side. Not only do his 116 points per win and his good ability to get that done early, but also because a lot of this hype is going to be on Khamzat Chimaev, right? If someone's going to get any ownership at that high end, it's probably going to revolve to him. And I do think Almeida is going to be the lesser owned of the two. That being said, I think he has just as much finish equity here. I think he has just as much ability to go out there, take him down, smash, as Khamzat would say, and get him out of there pretty early on. So I'm taking me that fight. Of course, there's always that side, that dog. If he finds a way to pull out of the bag, gas out Almeida, find a miraculous comeback like the Pleasure Man sounds like he would, that'll definitely score optimal its own right. So either way, I'm on this fight pretty big.
Sounds good. And how about you, Monk? What do you like him?
I agree, Gordo. I assume you can't be called the Pleasure Man without some sort of stamina, so you got to watch out for that. I will go with Jingliang, Tony Ferguson, guys. The Leech is scoring over 3 points a minute. Ferguson is Tony Ferguson and can catch you at a darce at any time. There are some interesting stats, some newer stats that I'm looking at. Total stats in these guys' past few fights since 1/1/21. Bonus points whenever these guys fight, average of 70 points, whether it's them or their opponents. They're averaging a second round finish in their last 5 fights total, with an 80% rate of someone scoring over 100 points. So there are a ton of points flying around Jingliang and Tony Ferguson fights, win or loss. Very important here. 80% finish rate in their past 5 fights, and 3 out of 5 times someone in their fights has made the optimal lineup. So there are some huge numbers here as to why I would target this fight as a whole as my favorite fight of the night, other than that Erosa fight that I mentioned earlier. But I mean, the Leech is scoring, out of 11 wins, he's putting up over 90 points 72% of the time, 6 times out of 11 over 100. Just some fantastic numbers here. And Ferguson has given up over 90 points or more in 4 of his last 5 losses, guys. So it is not looking good for Tony Ferguson when he is losing. Average bonus points between the two, like I said, in the 70s in the past few fights. Some great strength of schedules here. Tony Ferguson is on the verge of losing 5 in a row as well. I don't know, and coming off that Michael Chandler loss, that was 4 months ago. He got decapitated by Michael Chandler's front kick. So is that enough time to fully heal? I mean, Ferguson will say yes, but Ferguson says a lot of things. I like the Jingliang side here, but I'm almost positive that someone makes the optimal lineup either way.
I like it. All right.
Ferguson says a lot of things, Monk says.
He does.
Ferguson says a lot of things that don't make any sense.
Exactly.
Now he just got kicked in the head.
It's even worse.
I did listen to some of his interviews today. He didn't sound as bad as usual. And he also looks like he dyed his hair blonde, for whatever that's worth as well. So, yeah, I know. I don't think it's his natural hair color, that's for sure. All right, we'll move on to the fight to fade. I will also kick this one off. I'm going to go with Melissa Martinez going against Elise Reed. It is plus 190 for that fight. Doesn't go to decision, which I think is the worst on the entire card, actually. But both fighters, what do they typically struggle with? They typically struggle with getting taken down. And either fighter, I just don't see going for takedowns here. If anybody, it's probably Elise Reed, but it's not really your game. She kind of just wants to stick on the outside with Melissa Martinez, who wants to keep it on the feet as well. I see this probably going to decision. No takedowns, very little finishing upside. I think it's a pretty easy fade for me. And I do like Elise Reed as far as a dog goes, but on DraftKings, I just don't know if I'll get there. So pretty easy fade for me. Melissa Martinez, Elise Reed. Monk, how about you? What fight are you fading for this week?
I'll take the other obvious one, in my opinion. It's going to be Norma Dumont going against, I did not want to click Jake Collier, even though I would probably fade that one as well. Norma Dumont and Danielle Wolf. Danielle Wolf, guys, 1-0 in MMA. She had one Dana White Contender Series fight that she won. She scored 1.61 points a minute if you throw DraftKings scoring on there, and 54 whole points in that decision win. She has one fight against Norma Dumont. Say what you want about Norma Dumont, but she's fought 5 people at the UFC level. I mean, you can argue, it's Aspen Ladd, Macy Chiasson, Felicia Spencer just retired, Ashley Evans Smith, and then Megan Anderson as well. So some decent fighters there overall. The problem is Norma Dumont is not out here finishing fights. She has been finished once. It was by Megan Anderson, whom I just mentioned. But these cumulative stats between the two, and it's only Norma Dumont. Obviously, Danielle Wolf never having a fight at the UFC level. Only one time someone in a Norma Dumont fight has scored over 100 points. The bonus points per fight is 30, so just decision wins, no finishes. I'm not looking forward to watching this one. I'm not looking for, outside of Danielle Wolf catching Norma early, I don't really see how this one gets on the optimal lineup. I think Dumont is just going to go, 3-round decision, and she does not score very well. 83 points in a decision is good, but when you're 9,200 points, that is not so good. So I'm going to have to see it from Dumont first, and definitely from Danielle Wolf before I want to roster either of these women. So give me the fade on the Dumont and Wolf fight.
Sounds good. Gordo, how about you? What fight are you fading for this card?
Yeah, I think you guys hit the two very obvious ones here. Let's go on with not you, Alexa. Let's go on to the third women's fight this time. Let's go on to Aldana versus Chiasson. And I think this is one where, although it is probably the more violent of the three fights,
I don't know that one.
it is a spot where I do also not see myself having that much ownership in the first place too. We've talked about the huge discrepancy in the price ranges between the Khamzat Chimaevs, the Jilton Almeida, and everybody else. And it's really hard for me to get to someone in Irene Aldana 8.8K or 8.6K, sorry. No, 8.8K. Alexa screwed me up. I apologize about that. But no, it's a fight where, again, I can't really see myself getting to that much. Again, plus 120 fight not to go to decision. It's a spot where I do see it going to scorecards. I do think that Irene Aldana will have the edge, and I'm picking her to win, but it's just really hard for me to get there above the people in that price range, above the Hakeem Dawodus, above everybody else above her. It's just hard for me to get to them. And on the other side, on the dog side, Macy Chiasson, someone whose win condition, in my opinion, also doesn't score that well. So pass for me on that one.
And last but not least, Weezy, how about you? What fight are you fading for this week?
I'll give you guys Tiuliulin versus Pickett. Pickett's fights are really, really low volume, really slow. He likes to put people up against the fence, and when that happens, there's not a lot of significant strikes that get landed. There's not a lot of takedowns. There's not a lot of scoring. And Tiuliulin is also a fairly low volume striker as well. He scored 2.13 points per minute in his debut against Kisraev. Jamie Pickett scoring 2.05 points a minute. And if you look at Jamie Pickett's stats overall, his points or his fights score a total of 108.74 between the winner, the loser, and the bonus points, right? Only 108. Guys like Nate Diaz are in 135-point fights. Irene Aldana, 125. Basically the only person below 110 is Jamie Pickett, and then we've got Danielle Wolf, who's had one fight that was all striking, and then surprisingly enough, Haley Alatang. So he's the third lowest. He's the fighter that has the third lowest scoring fights on the roster, and there's a lot of them. There's a lot of Pickett fights thus far. He's had a few fights, so in a decent sample size, this guy is in just fights that don't score very well. So I'm gonna say to avoid that fight, even though it is middle of the range priced. Pickett is a bad option, and maybe Tiuliulin catches him with a big shot, but Pickett's hard to knock out, man. Very hard to knock out. So I'm gonna be avoiding that one.
Yep, I can't agree more. Jamie Pickett fights typically do suck very bad. Let's go to the fighter to fade. We'll stick with you, Weezy. What fighter are you fading for this week?
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you to fade Irene Aldana. Irene Aldana's 8,800, and that's the major thing that fades that factors in here for why I'm fading her. Second of all, her last two wins are first round wins. We very rarely see that at this level. So it's very unlikely that she's going to get another first round finish. At 8,800, we need to expect a finish out of her, or at least 3.5 points per minute in order to get anywhere near the kind of points you're going to need in order to pay off that salary. Here's the problem. Chiasson's had a lot of fights at this level, and here's what she's allowing to her opponents. 2.09 points per minute is what Macy Chiasson gives up at this level. So if we were to extrapolate that out and say, let's say Macy loses the fight but gives up 2.1 points per minute, that means in a decision win, you're looking at like 61.5 points out of Aldana from an $8,800 salary. So I'm gonna fade Aldana this week because those names that you see around her in the salary range are much more likely, in my opinion, to not only win but finish their fights.
Yep, and I went with the same exact thing. Going to be fading Irene Aldana. A lot of the same reasons you mentioned, but also because I just like so many other people around the price range. Like I want to go up and get Chimaev. I want to go up and get the Leech. I want to go up and get Almeida. I want to go up and get, Kevin Holland. I want to go up and get all these other fighters. And, Irene Aldana kind of falls into that range. I just think there's much better options, not only above, but below Aldana as well. And yeah, I think this fight goes this distance as well. I don't see any like grappling upside for Aldana, no takedown upside, and she has been finishing fights, but Chiasson I don't believe has ever been knocked out. So yeah, I'm right there with you, Weezy. I'm going to be fading Irene Aldana. Gordo, how about you? What fighter are you fading for this week?
We're going to fade Super Melly Martinez. And it's a pretty easy fade for me, not only because she is coming in off a huge layoff, but more so because she's at such a hefty price tag over someone who I don't necessarily see her beating at a super high clip. I think this is a spot where it's probably going to be a more stretched out striking affair. And at 8.5K, it's really hard for me to see the upside and the win condition and the value on someone in Super Melly. So I'd rather go up. You can go up 100, get Eon, go up 200, get Holland, and there's a lot better people around her. Melissa Martinez, not only do I not see her reaching value on DraftKings in a win, but also I don't see her winning a lot of the time either. So I'm on the underdog in that spot there, and for that reason, Melissa Martinez is not getting a lot of my ownership.
Fair enough. I'm right there with you. Monk, how about you? What fighter are you fading for this week?
I'm going to go with our guy in the chat, Bufo on the beat. Chris Barnett, man, Huggy Bear. I'm going to be fading him. He does not score well 3 fights into his UFC career. 2 points a minute, just over 2 DraftKings points per minute. He did put up 96 in his win over Gian Vellante with that ridiculous, insane spinning heel kick or whatever to the front flip onto his behind. That was fantastic. But Chris Barnett allowing 4 points a minute, 4.16 points a minute, and 98 per loss is what he gives up. The guy on average only scoring 41 points per UFC fight that he is in. That is very, very subpar. He's given up over 90 in both of his losses, given up over 100 in one of them. This is really a fade to the whole fight because I don't think Collier is going to do much of anything either. This is probably going to decision. And Chris Barnett has yet to go to decision in the UFC, but I think Collier is the perfect opponent to do that. So should be right on track for, 50, 60 points, a super sloppy, sweaty, low level, heavyweight banger if you want. But I think this one does not score well, and I'll be fading Chris Barnett as I do think Fat Collier can probably take this fight from Chris Barnett in a greasy, the greasiest of decisions. So give me Chris Barnett as the fade here.
All right, there we go. We'll move on to our favorite dog. We will start with you, Gordo. Who you liking as a dog this week?
Well, there are a few dogs I see with a lot of value. We've talked about Elise Reed, although I like her as a dog. She's not one I'm going to target on DraftKings. We're going to take the easy way out. We're going to take the farthest thing from a dog. 8K, we're going Johan Lainez. He's the first fight of the night. Weezy talked about him earlier, but not only is he a Canadian boy for me as well, but this guy comes out here firing on all cylinders. The guy has insane power early on. Like Weezy mentioned, he scores 5.4 points in his early fights, and he's going to have an opportunity to go out there and put that power, put that fight-ending intention to use. At 8K, not only is that first-round finish on the table, but I think that he's going to have the opportunity to also use some decent wrestling chops in this fight as well. I think that he could, even though he has that notion of him gassing out after the first round, I don't see Weeks pushing that hard of a pace. Therefore, I see him being able to make value even in a decision loss. I think that he has more finishing equity in the spot, and I also like him a lot more than the people below him. At 8K, he is my favorite dog.
Sounds good. Monk, how about you?
Well, let's see. I'll just I'll get it out of the way here. I mean, I think this fight, whoever wins, is going on the optimal lineup. So I will take the extreme salary relief on Julian Erosa at 7,300. Guy scores 3.61 points per minute, 106 on average over his 5 UFC wins. Dawodu gives up on average. I know he's only lost in the UFC twice, but 132 points. Who did he lose to? He lost to Mavzar, which, everyone that's fought Mavzar has lost to Mavzar, but he gave up, 138 points in that fight. Julian Erosa has proved to be, someone that will fight for your money, if nothing else. That Steven Peterson fight was fantastic. He fought Charles Jourdain, very exciting. Nate Landwehr, who's everybody's, favorite, grinder these days, after his big win over Onama, put a beating on him, first round KO, and beat Sean Woodson 5 fights ago. His strength of schedule is very good. I I think Dawodu has the means and ability to win this fight more often than Erosa does. But man, if Erosa can bring him a war, Dawodu has been caught in the past. He's been subbed in the UFC. Let's see here. And Erosa, tons of finishes, I should say. Let's see. 10 total fights. 7 of them have ended by way of finish. Like I said, I think whoever wins this one wins or gets to the optimal lineup. And I think Julian Erosa has a better chance than his $7,300 salary would tell us he does. So give me the underdog play on Juicy J, Julian Erosa.
Yep, I think that's a good one for me. I'm going to go with Denis Tiuliulin, however you pronounce it, but he's going against Jamie Pickett. It's simple as this. I don't think Jamie Pickett's that good at all. And at the very least, Denis is going to go out there. He's going to try to take his head off. Jamie Pickett has been knocked out, I believe, 2 times at this point. And on top of that, Denis has finished all but one of his wins. They all come by knockout, 89% of those by knockout. He's going to swing for the fences. He's going to fight for your money. He's an underdog, 700. I don't mind some Denis. I think he has some serious knockout upside here. Weezy, how about you? Who's your favorite underdog this week?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to agree with Gordo and not talk about Leoness, but just say I think that's the best, underdog play on the card, just because it's a great fight. First of all, he's got some serious upside there. Another good upside dog is Johnny Walker. But I'm going to talk about Macy Chiasson here. 4.1 Draftkings points a minute. A huge, huge, huge bantamweight, right? And when we've seen Irene Aldana struggle, it's when her opponents have been able to control her. And that's something that Macy's going to do here. Macy's got decent striking, but it's not on Irene's level. And Macy knows that. So she's going to do what she does best, which is use her size, use that great clinch game that she has, use her top control. And if she does all 3 of those things, she's going to rack up some control time. She's going to potentially rack up 1 or 2 takedowns, a bunch of non-significant strikes, which add up. And if she does enough of that, she's going to get a 30-point win bonus here at the end of the fight too. So I think at 7,400, she's a girl who's going to probably last the full 15 here and push the kind of pace and have the kind of game plan that leads to more DraftKings points. Irene Aldana is happy standing in the middle of the cage at striking range. That's where she's at her best. And I don't think Macy's going to let her do that. And I think if she pushes that game plan, it's a good chance that she wins this fight and brings you some good underdog value here at only 7,400 this week.
All right, there we go. We'll move on to our prize picks section. Do want to remind you guys, if you guys have not already, be sure to sign up for prize picks using promo code PUBSports. We did really well. I believe it was last week we did really well. So I will start with you, Gordo. Do you have any prize picks, things that are sticking out for this week?
Give me 1 second. I have not pulled it up.
We can start with you, Monk. Do you have any prize picks for this week?
I did remember to do it before the show this week. I got a couple. Let's see here. I'm just I'll go first. So, man, I'll take the easy. God, I don't know if this is the easy one. I'll go with Khamzat over 1.5 takedowns. I think he's going to dispatch of Nate Diaz relatively early. But all he has to do is, let him get up 1 time. I think that is possible, whether that's him lasting a round and being finished in the second, obviously with 1 takedown in the first and then in the second, or 2 quick takedowns, a slam, a get up, a slam again. I'm going to go with Khamzat over 1.5 takedowns this week.
Okay, yeah, that one I was close to as well, but I just have a feeling that it could only take one.
It could only take one, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, but it makes sense though. For me, there were 2 that stuck out. The first one is going to be the Kevin Holland fight time. I went over 12.5 minutes. Both guys are extremely tough. I think it's like a combined 48 fights, something crazy like that. Neither guy has ever been knocked out. The only finished losses come on the Kevin Holland side, and it was him getting submitted twice. But I don't really see this fight hitting the mat all that much. I think these guys are going to stand and bang. Both guys have elite chins. I think this fight does go over in the distance. So over 12.5 minutes for Kevin Holland was the one that stuck out to me. Weezy, how about you? Did anything stick out for you on prize picks?
Yeah, over 12.5 minutes for Holland, I like. I also like over 5 minutes for Jailton Almeida. It's going to be a sweaty 5 minutes, but I've got some faith in the Pleasure Man's ability to hold this dude off. for 5 minutes, plain and simple. I just don't think that the guys that he's beaten yet or thus far are the athletic quality, of an Anton Turkalj here. When you look at Parker Porter and Danilo Marquez, you don't think of athleticism for either of those guys. Once you put Parker Porter on that gigantic ass of his, it takes like 74 joules of energy to get back up. I mean, you almost need some kind of a generator to get it going. So look, I think that the Pleasure Man makes this last past the first round, but I also love that over 12.5 minutes for Kevin Holland as well.
Sounds good. And then Gordo, how about you? What do you like him?
A bunch of them jumped out of the page as soon as I clicked on it here. We're going to go with Norma Dumont over 1.5 takedowns. I think that if she wants to win and justify that price tag, she's going to need to go out there and grapple. And I definitely think that is a likely outcome here. I don't think she is going to want to stand for too long. I think that if she does enter any problems, she'll have no problem getting it down to the ground. I think 1.5 was too low for there. I don't mind that spot, but the favorite play for me as well is that Chimaev over takedowns.
All right, sounds good to me. So yeah, if you guys have not already, be sure to sign up for Prize Picks using the promo code PubSports. So we'll move on to the next section here. We have our favorite GPP play, and we will start with you, Monk. Who are you liking for GPP this week?
I'm going with the Hulk, honestly, this week. His numbers are jumping off of the page going against Johnny Walker. Scoring 4.3 points a minute, second best rate on the card, 110 per win. Third best rate on the card. Does not give up a ton, quite honestly, but Johnny Walker gives up 3.35 raw points per minute, so not a great pace there. We're saving $345 on, Cuțelaba is actually $345 over his average salary, so not a ton, but his raw DraftKings points per minute differential, meaning the points he scores over his opponents per minute, is 1.91. That is a ridiculous number. 4 of 5 of his UFC wins over 100 points, 3 of them over 110. This guy is scoring from everywhere. Meanwhile, Walker, when he loses 3 of 4 of his losses, his opponents have put up over 100 points. Here's the key, and this is what is a bit shaky because you are now relying on Ion Cuțelaba's fight IQ, which is always a scary thing. 2 points a minute this guy scores in his career in takedowns and control time put together. Johnny Walker averaging well over a point per minute given up on those categories. Cuțelaba, though, I mean, he should stick to pattern here. In his last 3 fights, he took down Jacoby 9 times, Devin Clark 8 times, and Ryan Spann 3 times, if that's correct. 20 takedowns in his past 3 fights. Meanwhile, Walker, 0 takedowns in his last 2, but against Santos and Hill, they're not going for takedowns. Spann took him down twice. Krylov took him down 3 times, and Corey Anderson finished 1 takedown on him. So there is a definite path to victory here at 8,600. Cuțelaba, with that pace, with those points per win, could easily land on the optimal lineup and pay off his salary 12, 13x. So long way of saying, give me Ion Cuțelaba as one of my favorite GPP plays.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to go with the Leech here at 9,000 going against Tony Ferguson. I think you brought it up a little bit, Monk. Tony Ferguson just got knocked out. I believe it was in May or June. Like, it was a couple months ago. Brutal knockout. Tony Ferguson is now 38 years old. He's taken a ton of damage throughout his career. We are more than definitely seeing that now. He just dyed his hair blonde, which is not his natural hair color. I think the Leech has a very good chance to go out there and knock him out. The Leech, I think he's finished like either 3 of his 4 last fights have ended by knockout in his wins. The dude has a ton of power. Ferguson is there to be hit. I think the Leech does knock out Tony Ferguson here. So I do like Leech quite a bit, 9,000. I do think he'll be pretty popular, but, I do like him regardless. They're 9K. Weezy, how about you? Who are you liking for GPP this week?
Yeah, I was going to give you a Leech, but, I'll go someplace else here. I'm going to go with Kevin Holland at 8,700. Kevin's a good scorer, 3.4 DraftKings points per minute. His points or his fights score 124.8 points on average. Dude's in exciting fights that, have some grappling upside with it, but there's a lot of power on both sides in this fight. But I kind of feel like, man, if Dwight Grant can get you on skates, Kevin Holland might actually be able to finish the job here. And even if he doesn't, I do like him to win this fight and land a lot of significant strikes here. I think these guys are going to stand and bang. So I'm going with Kevin Holland at 8,700.
And I believe Monk, right? How about you?
For cash?
Oh, I think we're on.
I already did GPPs, yeah.
Gordo.
Gordo.
Yeah, I shouldn't have gone last because you guys hit all three I want to talk about. Let's go the complete other side of what Monk said then. Let's go with Johnny Walker. I mean, every time Ion Cuțelaba fights, I mean, the fight as a whole is going to be one you want to target in GPPs, and especially when you have hefty favorites, you need that salary relief. In a GPP tournament, having Johnny Walker in your lineup is never a bad thing because when he does win, he does so very, very well. Of course, there is always that risk of Ion being able to go out there, wrestle him, and be a smart fighter, but we haven't necessarily seen that at all times. So I think that the win condition for Johnny Walker scores very well. I think that his upside is a first round, early second round finish, and you can definitely do so. He is the definition of a risky GPP play for me.
Absolutely. All right. We will move on to our favorite cash play. I will kick this one off. I'm just going to go with Khamzat Chimaev here at, what is he, 9,600. Obviously very expensive, but, you know, he's minus 1,000. He's like minus like 500 to win inside the distance, something crazy like that. And I think he has obviously the highest upside on the slate. I think he's going to get takedowns here. I think he's going to get grounded pound. I think he finished this fight probably under 10 minutes. So give me Chimaev. I mean, it just seems like about as safe as you can get as far as a cash play goes. So Chimaev, 9,600, expensive, but I'm definitely going to be plugging him into cash. Gordo, how about you? Who are you liking for cash this week?
Too easy. It feels almost way too easy. I got to go right there with you, Khamzat Chimaev, 9.6K. It just feels like a big FU from the UFC to Nate Diaz. And I don't necessarily think what is going to be his reaction to the spot. Is he going to be able to give up easier? I don't think he has that same grit in him he always has. I don't really necessarily see how Khamzat Chimaev doesn't go out there and finish him early. He wants it more. He has the takedown upside. He has the finish upside. He just seems very, very safe at that expensive price tag.
Absolutely. Weezy, how about you? Who are you liking for cash this week?
Khamzat Chimaev, actually. I've predicted that he's going to win this fight yesterday on Just the Tip. So if you missed that, go and check that out because I've been the only guy that's willing to come out and just say it, that I think he's going to win this fight. Look, this is bad for Nate. And like Gordo said, this is just a big middle finger to Nate Diaz. Some of the dumb shit that he's been saying over the last 6 months. If I were Dana White, I would have been like, yeah, let's put him in there with Khamzat. And then while Khamzat's just absolutely busting his head up, pounding it through the canvas while he's on top of him, I think that Nate Diaz is going to be saying to himself, how this sport has changed. And it has. These guys are better. They're way better. And, this is Nate Diaz, a 155er who got dominated by a 135er in Manny Gamburian all those years ago. This 185er weight pulley that he's going to be in there with is going to destroy him. And he scores 7 Draftkings points a minute. 9,600 is not nearly enough. I'd probably pay $12K to get this guy in my lineup.
Yeah. I'd pay a lot as well. So I like it. Looks like 3 in a row here. Monk, you got anything different, or are you going with Khamzat as well?
You know what? I was thinking about it's Khamzat Chimaev on it. 7 point. I'll give you some actual stats since we all mentioned him. I would have gone with Yelton Almeida, but let's just round out the table here. Like Weezy said, 7 points a minute. After that 3-round battle against Gilbert, he still only allows 1.89 per minute, the best number on the card, 118 per win. Nate Diaz giving up 104 per loss. Has been finished twice in the UFC. Let's see. One was by Jorge Masvidal in 2019. That definitely has not aged well. Like Weezy said, this is a different game, man. Khamzat's going to smash Diaz here. 2 points a minute in takedowns and control time. Nate Diaz gives up 1.4 points per minute, almost the worst numbers in the whole on the whole card. That's enough stats for me. There's no way, I don't know if I'm going to be playing cash and not have Khamzat in my lineup. It's an automatic 100 and some points. So throw him in there.
Wow, 4 in a row for Khamzat Chimaev. All right, I like it. All right, we'll go to our favorite value play now, and we will start with you, Weezy. Who are you liking for some value this week?
Oh God, who do I like for some value this week? It's kind of rough out there a little bit. I mean, I think I would go in the middle, like I say, for either one of those guys, Weeks or Lioness. That's value in terms of Weeks. You've got upside in terms of the wrestling. Because if this fight does go the full 3 rounds, it probably means he's not standing in front of Johan the whole time. Both of these guys can wrestle. I think that Johan's the much more powerful striker, though. But I think that Johan Lioness at 8,000, dog price, super high upside, and the dude has mixed in takedowns and done it successfully. And he wrestles in a way that's DraftKings friendly. He's not like this Damian Maia type wrestler that gets you down once and then you don't go anywhere for 4.5 minutes. You'll get right back up 15 seconds later, and then he might be able to take you down again. That's how you rack up points in DraftKings. So I think that Lioness is a great a value pick this week.
Absolutely. For me, I'm going to go with Johnny Walker at 7,600 just because I think somebody is getting their ass shaved here. And I think this should be lined a lot closer. Cuțelaba, yes, he has that wrestling, but is he going to be able to take down and hold down a huge Johnny Walker for 15 minutes? I don't really think so. I think Johnny Walker is going to have a ton of opportunities here. He hits like an absolute truck. He's going to be bigger. And it would not shock me at all if he knocked out Iron Cuțelaba. We've seen Cuțelaba hurt. We've seen him knocked out. So at 7,600, I think there's just so much upside there with Johnny Walker at that price tag. Monk, how about you? Who are you liking for some value this week?
I like Macy Chiasson this week against Irene Aldana. A few of you guys have talked about her, and for good reason. She's only 7,400 this week, and she will probably be well under owned. There are some fantastic fight. I mean, Khamzat, what's his ownership going to be? 70%. What's Yelton ownership going to be, like 50%? I think Chiasson is going to be well under the field. This fight as a whole is going to be well under owned, in my opinion. But she scores very well, over 4 points a minute, 102 per win, and this is over 6 UFC wins, in which she has, 3 of those wins have been finishes. She only gives up 2 points a minute. Meanwhile, Irene Aldana giving up well over 3 points a minute, 96 per win. Macy Chiasson scoring very well, even in decisions, 91 per decision win. And the two categories I talk about most, takedown points per minute and control time points per minute, Chiasson is scoring, 1.42 points a minute total in those categories. Aldana gives up half a point per minute in those categories, but Chiasson is scoring from all 5 major categories. The 2 I just mentioned, including striking, she has knockdown points in this division and reversal points as well. So I think the huge upside of Chiasson, you're getting a bargain on her at 74, and if she performs well, if she wins this fight, the numbers would tell you that she's probably making optimal at that very cheap salary. So give me a bit of Macy Chiasson as a dog play this week.
Yep, not only is she a solid dog, but she has a very solid haircut as well. Gordo, who are you liking this week for some value?
For value for me, I'm going to go over to Daniel Rodriguez. I think this is a spot where you have an underdog who probably has one of the higher floors with people in the division. We have a lot of fighters who are expected to lose very on, and I do think that durability of Daniel Rodriguez is going to play into having him have a higher floor. With that being said, I don't necessarily see Holland coming in and implementing a grappling heavy game plan. So I think that DR also has opportunities to win the fight in his own right. Both these guys are extremely durable. I see a decision fight. I see a lot of points to be accrued here. And when you have a guy at 7.5K who is going to go to a decision, who is going to have decent volume in doing so, I do think that there's some value at him at 7.5K.
All right, there we go. All right, so we'll move on to our dart throw here, and then we'll get to our lineups and stuff. So we'll start with you. Gordo. Gordo, who is your dart throw for this week?
Well, if you guys know me, you guys know that for a dart throw, I want someone with extremely low ownership. And in this case, it pains me to say, but we're going Danielle Wolf as a dart throw for me. And I know it is questionable, but we have to realize this is an if fight. Norma Dumont can look like that favorite if she goes out there and shoots takedowns, if she's going to be able to implement a full MMA game. With that being said, have we seen that from Dumont often? We see that she's been decently content to strike sometimes. And I think that if it does go out there, if they do strike for a decent amount of time, Wolf is going to have a chance. And when you have someone at that price tag with a chance, maybe that is all you need, because I do think if she wins this fight at all, she will become the optimal lineup. She's going to have no ownership. Honestly, I expect her to lose as well, but there is that whole if factor. If she stands with Dumont for the whole time, I do think that people look back in hindsight and say that line was a little wide. And although it is wide, we do know that on DraftKings, I do think there is some sneaky upside on Daniel Wolf at 7K.
Yeah, Weezy, who are you liking for a dart throw this week?
Dude, for me, it's Johnny Walker. And I realize that he's probably going to be a little more owned than people think. But look, what's your last memory of Johnny Walker? It's all exactly. It's like him, and it looks like he's shooting a fadeaway jumper, and then there's the memes of his face up against that fence. And that's the last memory of Johnny Walker, right? People have forgotten that Johnny Walker's finished 2 fights in the first 60 seconds in the UFC. People have forgotten who Johnny Walker's lost to. I'll bring it up for you. Jamal Hill, Thiago Santos, Nikita Krylov, Corey Overtime Anderson. I mean, like, these are good fighters. But then when he wins, Ryan Spann, 107.4 DraftKings points. Misha Serkinov, 126.72 DraftKings points. Justin Ledet, 127.92 DraftKings points. Khalil Roundtree, 104.12. And then a win over Enrique da Silva, where we didn't even have control time numbers, and he still managed to score 84 points that's an incomplete score. So I think that because of that last memory that we have of Walker, he's going to go lower owned than he should. And don't forget, nobody with a winning record. I mean, like, he's only lost to guys with winning records at the UFC level. Cuțelaba's 5-6-1. Okay. And, you know, he's lost to good fighters too, but he lost to Misha Serkinov. You know, he's lost to Cannonier, to Teixeira, to Ankalaev twice, tied to Jacoby, a loss to Spann, who also, Walker has beaten Ryan Spann. So I like Walker here. I think you're saving a lot of money. And I think that he's going to find a big shot at some point in this fight. When he hits you hard, man, usually the fight's over shortly thereafter.
Yeah, I could not agree more, Weezy. For me, I'm gonna go with Jake Collier here, 9,100. I think he's going to be very low owned just because you have Chimaev up there. Like Monk was saying, you have who else? You got Jonathan Almeida up there. I think those two guys alone are just going to have a ton of ownership towards them. And I think people are going to forget about Jake Collier a little bit. He throws a ton of volume, 5.67 significant strikes per minute for a heavyweight. Chris Barnett, I just don't think he's good. I don't think he's UFC caliber. He's been finished in his loss against Ben Rothwell. What's his face was on his way to finishing him. Well, Budai was on his way to finishing him as well. I think Collier can finish him. I think Collier can either A, put a pace on him. Barnett's going to be so tired that he can't fight anymore in that second or third round. Or I think B, I think he can take down Barnett, who has no takedown defense, who has a horrendous ground game. We saw Collier submit Chase Sherman easily. I think if Collier gets on top of Barnett, it could be an easy night as well. So I think Collier is going to be very, very low owned due to Almeida and Chimaev. And I think Collier is live for a sneaky finish here. Monk, how about you? Who are you liking as a dart this week?
Yeah, there's some interesting options like we were talking about. I mean, if Chimaev is 70 and Almeida's 50, just say that's 120 total percent of ownership. That is 1/5 of all total 600% of ownership points possible. So there are going to be some interesting plays this week. I'm going to agree with Gordo. I don't find a lot of dart throws this week, but Danielle Wolf definitely is one that stands out. I mean, imagine paying 9,200 for Norma Dumont. Come on now, 2.47 points a minute. She gives up 112 when she loses, and that is over 2 UFC losses. Like Gordo said, it's a fight of ifs. If Danielle Wolf can catch her with something, I don't think we're going to see too much in the way of takedowns here, but Danielle Wolf did stuff, I believe, 7 takedowns in her Dana White Contender Series fight. No takedowns landed against, so she has a perfect takedown defense. Norma Dumont attempts only 2.24 every 15 minutes, lands just 1 takedown per 15 minutes. And if this stays on the feet, Danielle Wolf could easily catch her with something. In my opinion, this is a low-level women's MMA fight, especially on the Wolf side. So that means high variance. I'll probably be, I mean, what are we thinking? Wolf might be the lowest owned fighter on this entire card. Maybe Nate Diaz, actually, but that name alone will probably raise his ownership above Wolf's. I think she's going to come in sub 10%. Not difficult to double that up in an attempt to fade Norma Dumont here, because if she wins, she's going on the optimal at $7,000. So give me Wolf as a dart throw.
All right. So what we're going to do now is take a look at our lineups for last week and give our lineups for this week. If you guys have any questions, be sure to type them in the chat now. We have 50 of you guys hanging in with us on a Wednesday. I do see a couple questions here that I'm starring. We'll get to them soon, but we are going to get to the lineups for last week. All right. So in 4th place was Gordo. He had Nazardine Imavov with 70. Magomedov with 127, Figlak with 24, Jourdain with 45, Taha with 2, and Perez with 19 for 290 DraftKings points. In 3rd place was me, Benoit Saint-Denis 135, Magomedov 127, Gomez 79, Jourdain 45, Taha 2, and Tuivasa 21 for 413.13. In 2nd place was Weezy with Benoit Saint-Denis 135, Imavov 70, Magomedov 127, Gomez 79, McDessie 29, and Perez 19 for 462.36. And then first place is Monk. Cyril Gahn 99, Benoit Saint Denis 135, Magomedov 127, Wood 108, Vittori 15, and Buckley 21. Congratulations, Monk. You got first place.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, it was going to be tough to beat with Saint Denis and Magomedov in there. Obviously, the two smash spots, but I almost somehow gave it away. Looking forward to this card. Going to try to keep catching up. Those numbers are getting smaller and smaller between everybody in first place. So 4 months left. I'm excited to see what happens.
All right, for sure. And yeah, it's getting kind of close, right? And we'll go over the 30 card standings here. So in fourth place, we have Monk with 12,100.61. In third place, we have Weezy with 12,170.96. In second place is me with 12,535.96. And Gordo in first place with 12,706.34. I'm 170 DraftKings points behind Gordo. Weezy is 535 behind Gordo, and then Monk is 605 behind Gordo. Gordo, you are still in first place.
That's what happens when I take a week off. You guys catch up to me, and it was definitely not my prettiest week, but man, those are getting close. And who knows? I could have another off week. You guys could catch up, but either way, it's going to be a fun fight to the finish. What is there? 12 cards left, and I look forward to all of them. So, hey, it's going to be fun.
Let's go. It's getting close. It's getting close. I can't wait to see who pulls it off. All right. So let's get to some questions here. I'll just kind of spread them out throughout the panel. We have a lot of questions. We don't typically have this many questions, so it should be fun. So Raw Torque saying Ann Hellinger. We haven't talked about Ann Hellinger really. We'll kick it to you, Weezy. Any thoughts on Ann Hellinger?
Yeah, so the boxing is really good. The takedown defense, not great, but the get-up game is good. So in this fight against Haley will wrestle sometimes, but Haley's kind of like a low volume guy. You look at Haley's stats, this guy throws a lot less significant strike attempts than his opponents do. And that could be a way for Chad to win minutes here, because Chad throws 7.29, but his opponents are throwing 6.7. Alateng throws 8.65 significant strike attempts per minute. His opponents are throwing 12.31. So he's just been a lot lower volume. He lands 2.86. His opponents land 5.07. And he's got a 33% striking accuracy. So Haley doesn't throw much, and he tries to take your head off. And Hellinger's never been knocked out. And he's got some pretty good get-up games. And he's got the ability to be able to box at range and look pretty good doing it. So I think it's a very interesting fight, very close fight. But I don't think Ann Hellinger is going to be DraftKings gold because he doesn't throw a ton of volume. And we've never seen Alateng get knocked down or out at this level.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's definitely a winnable matchup for him if Alateng does not come in with the right game plan. But from a DraftKings perspective, I don't know how much I'll have of Ann Hellinger there. We'll kick this one to you, Gordo. Rob saying this card can't be this easy. Who's going to shit the bed or the beds?
It is a very, very chalky card. And I mean, we've talked about that if situation with Norma Dumont. Although she should roll, there is that huge if situation. And I think it's the situation for a lot of those fighters at the top range. There are some flaws in each one of those fighters' games, but I do think that everyone in that top 9,000 range does win pretty convincingly. If I think of one person who's at the most risk up there, I would maybe have to see another fellow Canadian, Hakeem, be at a risky spot here. I think that he is the better fighter. I do think he should win, but I do think Erosa does have a better chance than this line does entail. And I do think that it is going to be up to him to make sure he fights a perfect fight, because Erosa is no slouch himself. He is probably one of the bigger favorites that I could see going down, other than the if situation of Norma Dumont.
Yeah, I think Dumont is live to shit the bed. I even think Collier could be live to shit the bed. I mean, Collier is a minus 450 favorite, just is insane. Monk, this one could be for you. Are you fading the Lion?
Actually, yeah, I'm going to be fading this fight as a whole, I think. Darian Weeks over Johan Linace. Neither one of them has won a UFC fight yet. They both do score a ton of points per minute, pace points. But when you look at their past 3 fights combined, that's where I pump the brakes on this one. No one in any of their past 3 fights has scored, or any of their UFC fights, we'll just keep it easy. No one has scored 100 points, them or their opponents. No one, actually, there has been one finish. No one's finished in the first round. No one's made optimal. I'm not looking forward to much in this fight. I want to see it. I'm going to have to see it rather before I put much stock in it. But as of now, I'm going to be well under the field on this 82-8,000 fight. I like the highly Alatang and Helliger fight a lot more, which I have not able to talk about. Even Jamie Pickett and Denis Tiuliulin is a bit more, I think it finishes more often than Weeks and Linnes does, just from some stats that I'm looking at. So, yeah, I'm going to be fading this one as a whole and Johan as a whole as well.
All right, a couple more. Weezy, this one could be for you, saying, does anything change for you if Chiasson missed weight? She's had a really hard time making weight this weight class.
Yeah, I mean, that's a narrative type of thing that does matter. You know, how do they look on the scales? And we know that, I mean, like Macy cuts a ton of weight to make 135, and that's why she's so much bigger than everybody. So, you know, I think that they're all going to be tough weight cuts. And it's not like Macy is like 23, where she could still be growing a little bit and like potentially that the cut just might not be even be doable for her anymore. I'm expecting her to make weight and to go out there and look like she always looks, which is like Justin Bieber. But that being said, I don't really worry about that too much. If she comes in on the scale and looks like absolute death warmed over, we can change our DraftKings lineups. That's easy to do. Is if you have a bet down, that's when the problem occurs.
Yeah, that is for sure. All right, one more here. Gordo, this one could be for you. Is it better to have one lineup with multiple entries or different lineups with multiple entries?
Yeah, I think you're asking is if they're having one lineup, you're going to spread across multiple entries, or are you going to mix them up? So if you only enter 5 lineups, you're doing 5 of the same lineups, or you're doing 5 different ones. And in that case, it just not only depends on how confident you are, but what kind of contest you're entering in. If I was entering in like a 3-entry max per se, I'm not going to put in the same entry 3 times and try to mix it up, try to be a bit contrarian, try to find a lapse in the market where I can be a bit different in order to make some money. I think that's a spot where you're able to target both sides, such as the Eon versus Walker fight, and try to get a bit different and try to cover all your bases there. If you are really confident in a singular lineup, though, go for it. Put it in multiple contests, try to take them all down. With that being said, I prefer to mix it up and be a bit different.
All right, sounds good. So what we will do now is give our lineups for this week. We will start with you, Weezy. Give your lineup for this week.
Yeah, we're going to start off with Khamzat Chimaev, Li Jingliang, Kevin Holland, and then Johan Leones, Johnny Walker, and then Danielle Wolf is the punt. I might even bet Danielle Wolf if this line gets any crazier, any more out of line. She's got decent takedown defense, and in that range, Norma Dumont is not going to look minus 400 at range here. We have to count on Dumont wrestling, doing it effectively, getting her down to the ground, and then hunting submissions. That's a lot that we have to count on her to do against somebody that we know very little about in Wolf. So, yeah, that's the lineup.
Yep, Dumont minus 425. Terrifying, terrifying. Monk, how about you? What is your lineup for this week?
MMA Locker Room just in time, bud. We are giving out our lineups right meow. I'm going to go with Yelton Almeida, Li Jingliang, Ian Cuțelaba, Chad Anheliger, Daniel Rodriguez, and Julian Erosa in the banger fight of the night.
All right. For me, I'm going to go with Yelton Almeida. I'm going to go with Khamzat Chimaev. I'm going to go with Darian Weeks, Denis Tiuliulin, Daniel Rodriguez, and then Julian Erosa. Gordo, what is your lineup for this week?
Weezy, don't tempt me to take Wolf. I'm not going to do it here, but no, my lineup this week, we're going to take Chimaev up top, pair him up with Almeida, get both those guys in there. We're going to take Johan Leones as Canadian number 1. We're going to take Chad and Gallagher as Canadian number 2. And then down low, we're going to take Johnny Walker and Daniel Rodriguez.
All right. Sounds good. Okay. So what we'll do now is give our quick picks and then we'll head out. So Weezy, you got your quick picks for UFC 279.
I told you guys I'm picking Khamzat Chimaev, and you can bring out the pitchforks and torches right now, but I'm sticking with my pick on that one. I got Li Jingliang as Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week over Tony Ferguson. I'm picking Kevin Holland. I'm picking Irene Aldana to win. I'm picking Johnny Walker to win. Dawodu, Almeida, Tiuliulin, Fat Collier, Norma Dumont, Alatang, Elise Reed, and Darian Weeks.
All right. I as well will take Chimaev. I know it's a hot take. Give me the leech as well. Give me Yeah, I'll take Kevin Holland. Give me Irene Aldana, Johnny Walker, Dawodu, Almeida, Tiuliulin, Jay Collier, Norma Dumont, Chad and Hellinger for the upset, Lisa Reed for the upset, and then Darian Weeks. Monk, what are your picks for this week?
We're going to go Darian Weeks, a little Melly Martinez, Chad Anheliger, Norma Dumont, Fat Collier, Jamie Pickett, Yelton Almeida, Hakeem Dawodu, Ian Cuțelaba, Macy Chiasson in a big upset, D-Rod in a big upset, Li Jingliang, and I'm right out there on the limb with you guys, Khamzat Chimaev. I mean, I'll be careful, but I'm going to pick him as well.
Hot takes. All right. And then Gordo, how about you?
Bold. You know what? A-Bud is right. Let's pick some Canadians here, shall we? No, okay. We'll take Kazman up top. We'll take Li Jingliang. We will take Kevin Holland, Irene Aldana, Ian Cuțelaba, Hakeem Dawodu, Yelton Almeida, Denis Tiuliulin, Jake Collier, Norma Dumont in a greasy one if she doesn't wrestle, Chad Anheliger, Elise Reed, and Johan Leines.
Who's Jake Collier?
I apologize. Fat Collier.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
All
that
right,
makes more
gotcha.
sense.
I was like, who's this Jake Collier?
I'm living up to the Canadian stereotype. I was too nice there. I had to call him by his real name.
Okay. Anyway, we'll head out of here, guys. We are about an hour in. Thank you all so much for hanging out. Had a good crowd tonight. We'll start with you, Weezy. Weezy, let the people know where they can find you, what you have going on throughout the week. I know you have a busy night tonight. I think you're doing 2 more streams after this.
Yes, sir. 8:30 p.m. Central Time. I will be joining Patrick on Addicted to Combat's channel to do our best bets for UFC 279. After that, 10:30 Central Time for Ask Weezy on Uncle Weezy's YouTube channel. I'll bring out my database of MMA stats. I'll bring out my prop template, my matchup stats. Ask me any questions that you need asked about this UFC 279 card, any of the matchups, any of the analytics, any of that stuff. I'm here to help you out. And after that, I'm going to get some sleep tonight, relax, enjoy the day off tomorrow, and get ready for next week.
Sounds good. Gordo, how about you? Where can they find you?
Yeah, busy times here. You can find me on Twitter at GamblesGordo or on my YouTube Plays and Fade Sports. Busy day for the Plays and Fades tomorrow. Tomorrow I have Wiz Bets joining me to break down the card. I have not Wiz Bets joining me once again to talk some football. And then I have a brand new show. We're talking about some NASCAR there as well. But all my content, Plays and Fade Sports, feel free to check that out. I'll be doing a busy day tomorrow. So if you need anything to do on your day off, Weezy, you know where to find me.
Yes.
Sounds good. Lots going on for Gordo. There we go. Check them out. And then Monk, let the people know where they can find you and what you have going on.
Yes, sir. I have a mass release earlier today. 2 shows on my channel, Monk Maddox, my game theory show, and a new show, Odds on Optimal, going over some of the stats I was referring to tonight as fight totals overall and their overall chances to target whether making the optimal. Also on the MMA Engine, Salary Voodoo has been released as well. 4 fights this week, so we do get a bonus fight on that show, so check that out. Pair all of it together, guys. You'll know exactly what to do. Check out my boys on the MMA Engine. You'll have an even better idea of how to get your money stacking up and how to win those bets and DFS lineups. So thanks a ton for watching. Again, hit the like and subscribe on Pub Sports Radio, and thank you guys a ton. Have a good week.
Yes, sir. You can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers, here on Pub Sports Radio on the MMA Engine, and on my channel, DFS by the numbers. My full card breakdown for 279 should be out sometime tomorrow. A little bit behind this week, but finally catching up on things today. All right. Leave a like on the way out. Subscribe, all the good stuff. We'll talk to you guys very soon. Best of luck for UFC 2.